Welcome everyone. Today is the first day of this course that we are launching. It's really exciting. My name is Ashley. I'm very glad to be here today. Thank you so much for watching this video. So for those of you who don't know, we are starting a free professional development training program for anybody working in an orphanage or in a children's home. So community-based outreach, just because we want to serve our community. So I'm really excited for this, and let's get started. So for the purposes of this training workshop that we are providing, we're going to look at the South African National Curriculum Framework. It is a free curriculum that's available on the internet for download to anybody. It serves anyone who's working in a facility that has children between the ages of 0 and 4 years old. It does give links to grade R curriculum links as well, which is pretty great. It's, like I said, it's completely free, downloadable. What we have done is we've taken the comprehensive nature of the framework and just basically going to teach on it and to explain it in a very relatable, understandable way. So that's our intention. So the curriculum itself is divided into 6 main early learning and development areas, as you can see on the table below. The first one is well-being, identity and belonging, communication, exploring mathematics, creativity, world knowledge, and understanding. So what we will do is we will unpack one of them at a time and obviously look at all the different subsections. The first early learning development area, which is abbreviated to ELDA, so ELDA1, is well-being. And within the well-being framework, there are 5 subcategories, and we will look at each individual subcategory per video. So the 5 subcategories, just for your information, are being well-nourished, having good health, being safe and secure, developing physical abilities, and building resilience. So today we're going to focus on being well-nourished. ELDA1, section 1, is Nourish to Flourish. We're going to unpack everything food. So in this session, we'll be looking at 4 main areas. We'll first look at how nutrition really impacts the child's holistic development, so cognition, emotional, physical development. Then we will go on to identifying some red flags and how we as caregivers should be able to respond to the children within this framework of learning about food and interacting with how we eat. So we'll be going through some signs of malnutrition. After that, we will go through the different areas of children's development. So we'll first focus with the babies, and then we'll move on to the toddler section, and then we will go to some really fun strategies and activities and ideas for you ladies and gentlemen who are working with these children that you can implement on a daily basis. So I recommend that you grab a piece of paper. Please feel free to pause the video when you need to if you want to ask some questions to each other. Ideally, we should be doing this course within a group setting so we can bounce ideas off each other, but obviously I understand the time constraints. But if you are fortunate enough, that is what would be the best recommended option. And so let's get started. Grab a piece of paper and a pen, and what I would like you to do is to think of a childhood memory around food. It could be good, it could be bad, it could be your favorite memory of your gran as you were baking something in the kitchen, or it could be the time where, for example, I personally hate broccoli because I was made to eat it cold. So you can have good and bad memories with food. So I would like you to sit down, either draw your favorite food on a plate, or tell somebody about a really cool memory that you have about food. This whole unit is really aimed to explain why it is so important, and it's a pivotal part of our lives, is food and eating and the processes and procedures that go around it. So again, I'm unpacking what is in the curriculum just in a more relatable and understandable way for us as a team to better support the children that we care for. All right, so grab a pen and paper, and I hope you have some fun with this activity. But on the next section, we will unpack how nutrition actually impacts the children in their development. For this section, we're going to look at why nutrition is important for developmental reasons. There is so much information available on the internet. If this topic interests you, it's really advisable for you to spend some time just researching what foods have what nutrients and how those nutrients impact the body. But we'll just kind of look at the four main areas for now. So firstly, brain development. Nutrition is vital in brain development. Key nutrients such as proteins and zincs, they help with brain development and cognition. Cognition is our ability to think and to reason and to problem solve. So with a nutrient deficit diet, we can impact a child's potential to develop their brain. So it's very important that we make sure that they are getting the appropriate nutrients. We are fortunate enough to live in this day and age where we have access to fortified milks and cereals which have the essential nutrients that children do need. So as long as we are just making sure that they are getting adequate amounts of that, and that when they go off milk or formula that they are getting the right nutrients into their body, because it is vital for their brain and cognition development. And then physical growth. These little people rapidly grow in the short span of time, and they obviously need the nutrients to support that rapid growth. Without the proper nutrients, they may not reach their growth potential or their growth rate that they actually need to. So we must be mindful of that. Immunity and energy. We know if we don't eat the proper vitamins and minerals, then our immune systems get weak, and then we are much more susceptible to getting sick. Babies are no different, toddlers are no different to this. And energy levels. If you are witnessing a child in your care with lower energy levels, not participating as actively, it could be a sign of a nutrition deficit. So it's a good idea to note these down and to have a look at the child's nutritional intake and to see if perhaps that could be one of the reasons why they are lacking in energy. And then another area to consider is emotional regulation. So your moods and behavior. If your body is not receiving the appropriate nutrients, you will often react in moods and behavior, that are not ideal. It is essential to ensure that they are getting balanced meals and all of the nutrients that is required in their diets, so that they can have very positive moods and positive behaviors. So that is, in a nutshell, the four main areas and why it is important for us to make sure that the nutrient intake of these children is sufficient for their developmental needs. So this is a perfect time to pause and to think about our own case studies, apply it to our own lives. If you haven't had much experience working with the children, then perhaps you can make a note on to look out for this behavior in the coming week. But a great way to internalize learning is to apply it to our real life. So I would like you all to stop and just to think about a time where you noticed a change in mood, a change in behavior, a change in energy level, perhaps all three if possible, in a child's eating routine, just to try and see if there's a pattern, to try and see if there is consistency in the child's behavior around meal times, and it'll just give us a deeper awareness and acknowledgement of the impact of good nutrition on not only our tummies and our ability to feel full, but on our mood regulation and on our energy levels. We are now going to move on to a section of red flags to look out for with nutrition and our responsive care. What is our responsibility for us to do when we come across these different areas? So the red flags to look out for would be malnutrition, feeding difficulties, and illnesses. So malnutrition is an umbrella concept where it could have undernourished or it could have overnourished. We need to teach the children in this age group how to ask for more, but also to be mindful about how to not eat until we pop. So let's focus on undernourished. Undernourished children would usually exhibit signs of kwashiorkor, so they would have distended bellies, swollen feet, their hair would thin, they would lose their teeth in ways that are not appropriate, they would have skin rashes and skin pigmentation. Obesity or overnourishment, obviously they're eating too much and they're picking up weight and they're not able to control their behavior or control their eating in an appropriate way. Then we look at some feeding difficulties. Sometimes we get really picky eaters. Some children completely refuse to eat real food. We could have difficulty chewing and swallowing. We could have sensory sensitivity, so they can't have a certain taste or a certain texture within their mouths. They may struggle with reflux or vomiting or have underlying medical conditions. So these are some of the feeding difficulties which we can experience with these children. And then the third area to be aware of is obviously illness. So any lack of appetite, vomiting or diarrhea, temperature, and a great increased thirst or a lack of thirst completely. These are signs that there could be an illness within the child. What is our role? As caregivers, we need to be excellent note keepers and record keepers. So in case you have a changeover of staff, or in case there is a new person who joins the team or a medical professional comes in, it is vital to have up-to-date, accurate records that you can provide the other colleagues and professionals that you are working alongside, so that we can pick up and know where that specific child is at. So our number one role is to keep documented notes about their feeding routines, about their feeding habits, whether they are showing signs of illness, whether they are showing signs of having a difficulty, so that we can address them when we have our team meetings and our case meetings. So that would be the first thing that we would say, is to really just be excellent note keepers. We also need to create a very fun and relaxed environment around food. There should never be force feeding. There should be responsive feeding. So if a child was wanting more, you should encourage more, obviously keeping in mind their nutritional needs, but it should be a responsive interplay of behavior. So us as the caregivers need to help them, teach them, guide them in a very calming and relaxing atmosphere. But it is vitally important that we are involved in the process. So we need to talk to them, we need to engage with the children while they are eating, while they are going through these feeding meals and times. So children will respond a lot more and have a lot better memories, like the activity we did in the beginning of the session, where you thought of a time when you had a good memory with a person about your food when you were a kid. You link positive feelings to positive experiences. So we need to make sure that every mealtime is a positive experience, even if the child is having a difficult time. Obviously, if we identify any illnesses or any areas of concern, it is vitally important to contact your superior and contact a medical professional if it is a serious illness or a red flag that you are noticing within the child. A very, very important thing to note in this section is developmental delays and developmental spurges. We as human beings are completely different, and babies and toddlers they do not get excluded from this. Although there is an average rate and an expected level, we need to understand that sometimes a child will excel in a certain area and be developmentally delayed in another area. It does not mean that they are failing in this area. It just means that they are developing at a different rate, in their own unique rate. That's another reason why note keeping is so important, is that we can understand, okay, so-and-so is doing really well in this area, but they seem to not be keeping up in that area. So with the activities and the experiences that we do, we never do it once. We continually repeat. Even with the toddlers, we do the same activities with the toddlers as we do with the babies, because they may not have grasped it. They may not remember it. They may need more consolidation and more repetition. So we must always just be mindful that when we talk about developmental delays and developmental spurges, it is not a checklist. It is not a passing or a fail. It is where that child is in their own personal development, and we need to be mindful of this and ensure that the engagement that we are giving them is appropriate to their personal development. And there again, that is why note keeping is so vital in this area. So if you would like to have any more information on it, you're welcome to contact me for this section, or you can carry on doing your own research and Google searching. But it's just a very important area to just note: red flags and responsive care. Right, so now we're moving on to the actual nitty-gritty of what we can actually do, what we expect from the children in this area, what we can do with them, and what things to note down and to observe. So I've created this table, which you can see on your screen right now. It's called the Adult Toolkit, and we're going to have one for babies and one for toddlers. So let's go. So in this area, babies start to show a preference for what they want to taste. So they will start to show you, I like this, I don't like this. I want more of this, I don't want more of this. They will begin to explore playing with food. This is a really cool area for us as educators or involved with the children to really help them play with their food. That's how children learn. They learn through play. So we have to make it fun, we have to make it enjoyable, and we have to give them experiences where they can do this. They are actually able to express when they are full or when they are hungry. This links into the verbal development side, where we're trying to encourage them to express themselves, be able to say, I'm full, I'm hungry, can I have some more? They may not have words, but they will communicate with you in their own way. They can accept or request their own favorite food. They are willing to try new foods, and they are learning to chew food well. So practical ways that we as the adult team can support them. Let's go through this list together. So we can make a game of weighing and measuring food items. This is super fun. So obviously we're not going to have all the kids doing it at the same time. We're going to have maybe one or two. We can have a rotation basis. You grab them with you and you get them to help you measuring out the formula or measuring out the water. Even if you are helping them pour with you, it is a great way to get them involved. We're going to offer a variety of foods, and we're going to do it in a fun way. If you can put, 2 tomatoes and a carrot or a cucumber and a smiley face, do it. If you can get those cookie cutters and you can cookie cutter the bread and make it into a star shape, that's amazing. It's going to make it more visually appealing for them. It's going to make it fun. It's going to make it playful. And it'll also encourage them to try new foods if it is presented in a good way. As I have mentioned in the previous section, it says spend time with each child during a meal. This is vitally important for, one, their attachment, their emotional regulation, and also just exposure to language and to being with a grown-up. They love to be with people who care about them and who want to be with them. So it's no good in letting the children eat and then going off to have your own private conversation. This is an ideal teaching opportunity to engage with the kids, to kind of talk them through what they're doing, to sing songs and to read stories and just really be with them in that moment. So the next recommendation is to speak in their mother tongue if possible and explain what's happening. This will give children the vocabulary that they need to start to use when they start to start speaking their own words. So you tell them you're holding a spoon, you're feeding it into your mouth, or you're picking up your carrot is really orange, it's your peas, let's count your peas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's so much language that is involved in the feeding around children. Remember, with the babies section is also applied with the toddlers. So although toddlers have additional areas to focus on, this is very important for toddlers as well, and particularly really impactful for them because their language and vocabulary development is really expounding. So speak to them what's happening. There are some really cute songs which I'm going to attach to the end of this video, which will really help you. They're also available free on YouTube, and it's a great way to sing songs. There's one from Coco Melon which is saying you pick up the spoon, you blow the spoon, you put it in, you swallow it down. So it's even teaching the children exactly what they are doing, even though they might do it automatically, to give them the words and the vocabulary that they need while they are doing these basic routines and eating processes is very helpful. So I will attach that link in the description below if you guys want to have a listen to that later on. Or even you can pause the video now and have a listen. So the next one we want to do is to demonstrate nutritious eating habits. This includes washing our hands before, setting a table nicely, washing up afterwards, tidying up, but sitting up straight, chewing with your mouth closed. Again, remember, it's very informal. It's creating a relaxed environment, but we are very responsive to teach the children how to eat properly, to how to use their utensils properly. Yes, they will play. Yes, they're going to get messy. We understand this. But it is a great learning opportunity for the children to demonstrate nutritious eating habits right now while we're at the feeding table. Something that is quite interesting and I came across is we as adults need to expect the children to like new food. So, and a lot of times I've actually done it with my own child, as I've given her a new food and then I'm like, it's going to taste really gross because it's a vegetable that perhaps I don't like. But we should be very careful and mindful not to do that. So whatever food we present to the children, we present in the best way that we can, and we make it so it's going to be so delicious and so tasty and so nutritious and so healthy for our bodies. That way we create a positive atmosphere around the new food, and it makes the child more willing to eat the food if we make it a new experience and a fun experience rather than that's so gross, I hate this. We must try and be very careful about how we speak about food to the children and even around the children. The next point we have here is expect babies to make a mess. So they're going to play with their food, they're going to get it messy, have the stuff ready to clean it up, be prepared for it. It's what they do. They're going to play with it. As you can see in the picture before when we were talking about red flags, that child was covered in green stuff, which some people might find really hard to do because they don't want to have this huge big mess, but it is going to happen. And I feel if we are prepared for a very messy experience and we try and make the necessary arrangements and make sure that the children are in a space where they can make a mess, then we'll be less likely to respond in a way that's not positive and create an atmosphere of we can't make a mess, they can make a mess. And then I think I've already addressed this, is to present food in an appealing way with different types of food cutters. So that's just some practical ways of while we're at the meal table. Some things to look for and to jot down in your notebook for each child would be their eating and drinking habits. Are they doing it easily? Do they enjoy food? Do they easily sit down and go? Are they resistant to eating? Write down their food preferences. Do they like it? Do they like it warm? Do they like it cold? Do they like the colorful foods? All that kind of stuff, just to note down. Energy and hunger levels during meal times. How they're using crockery and cutlery. This is a great way to see development and growth. As they start to use a spoon properly and they start to use a fork, and how they're adapting to mealtime routines. So it's very important to have routines, to have like things that they can kind of anticipate and get used to. So when perhaps you're starting a mealtime, you want to maybe start with a song. Then everybody knows, okay, it's lunchtime now. We have to kind of go and wash our hands and tidy up our toys, or whatever the routine might be at your establishment. It is important to have a routine and to see how well the children are responding to that routine. Children find safety and security in routine. So if you don't have a routine, it's highly suggested that you integrate one as soon as possible, and then make sure that everybody who's working with the children are consistent with this routine. So they always sing the same song, or they grab the same book, or there's a little dance that's done, or however you would like to incorporate a routine starter for a meal time and also a meal ending time. So that is our suggestions for the baby toolkits. There's going to be more practical activities coming after we've addressed the toddlers. I hope that's very beneficial. Don't forget I've linked some of the songs at the bottom, so if you want to pause the video now and have a listen to some of the food songs for babies, I recommend it. They're really fun. Please also don't forget stories. Stories are great. You can read things like The Hungry Caterpillar. You can sing rhymes in your own culture, in your own language. It's really fun to make it an enjoyable experience, and definitely a time to engage with the children at their level. Moving on to the toolkit for toddlers. As I said in the previous section, we're going to repeat all of the baby stuff with the toddlers. Why? Because they still need those same skills. They still need the same interaction. We can just now extend them a little bit more as they've got a little bit more skills available to them. They have more body stamina and strength. They've got more fine motor and gross motor control. They have more language and vocabulary. So we are able to expand their learning opportunities. But we're not going to forget that the basics are still always fundamental. So we always redo the basics. So let's go through our table here that we've got. We've got to begin to recognize new and different food. So this is a great learning opportunity for us. We can start sorting food. We can start grouping food. We can start looking at different colors and different shapes and all this kind of pre-language, preschool stuff that we can start to integrate with our toddlers. Toddlers in this age group can generate ideas about similarities and differences with food tastes and appearances. So sweet foods, savory foods, red foods, yellow foods. They can see how they are similar and how they are different. So going way back into the beginning of this video where we talked about cognition development. This is not only the nutrients that's going into their bodies, but also the learning and understanding of mathematical concepts that are around food and the nature of food, by them learning this similarities and difference concept. They can understand, toddlers can understand that food is nutritious. So you can start to page through magazines and newspapers and show them healthy foods and unhealthy foods. Foods that are good for you, foods that are bad for you. They're beginning to understand this very foundational concept of that food is actually good for you and some food can be bad for you. These toddlers, obviously, because they're able to do a little bit more, they're walking now, they're able to help set the table with plates and cutlery. They can even put the cups for juice or water. They can be, as with the babies, they can be involved with more scooping and clearing up. So it's very important that we include them in these routines. Again, you don't want 20 children in the kitchen with you while you are doing it. It'll be a nightmare, but choose a couple kids every time you have a meal time and let them be exposed with the helping of the setting up and the clearing away. It's really fun for them and it's a great learning and it's a part of our normal day life. We as grown-ups need to know how to prepare food, how to make sure we're clean, how to eat the food and tidy up afterwards. So don't exclude children from this very amazing learning opportunity. So practical ways that we can support development here. Like I said, we're going to continue with all of the baby activities. Quite noteworthy is to provide small portions. So here the children have a lot more vocabulary, so they're able to ask for food more readily, and we want to encourage them to start to express their own personal feelings and their own personal requests, so building up their self-esteem. And by giving them this huge giant portion which they feel like they can't manage, they're not going to, they're just going to feel overwhelmed and more than likely not eat. So it's actually a better idea to provide smaller portions and encourage them to ask for more. Say, I'm still hungry, can I have some more? Obviously, we need to be mindful of their nutritional values and not let them continue to eat above what they should be eating. But we can preserve smaller portions. It also, for the toddlers, it would give them a sense of feeling like they can achieve this task. So if it's too big, they feel a little bit overwhelmed. If it's smaller, they can eat it and then they would be more likely to ask for more or tell you that they're full and actually able to eat the food that you give them, which we actually want them to do. Then we're going to, again, present the foods in a variety of ways. Help them eat when they get tired. So yeah, they want to be super independent and they want to learn to use their forks and stuff, but they will, depending on their developmental level, get a little bit tired sometimes, and it is okay for us as caregivers to step in and to feed them and to help them when they are getting a little bit too tired to do it for themselves. Again, this goes back to the continuum of being a baby to a toddler, how we bounce back and forth. They're still growing, they're still developing, so it's great to be mindful of this. So with these kiddies, we can discuss food and where it comes from. So if we're eating a salad, we're eating some tomatoes and cucumbers, we can tell them that it grew in the ground. If we are drinking tea, we can tell them the tea originated in China, and then go in the whole Chinese. If you have access to Chinese books or the internet even, you can show them a picture of the rice paddies, rice paddies as well. Like that, I was just thinking of another one. So it's great, some cultural ideas where you get your different foods from. It's a great way to explain to them where food comes from, but that food doesn't come from pick and pay. Food comes from a place. So that's great. And then going back to the providing lots of opportunities for pouring, for scooping, for wiping, for cleaning, for washing, for stacking. These are things that can extend your day and provide a lot of enrichment for the children and developmental growth, but it's also helping you as the caregivers, have somebody help you tidy up and clean up, but it's so beneficial for them, and it's fun for them. And then finally, and again, extension. So if you find that a toddler is doing your super they're ticking all the boxes in this section and they feel like they could really be extended, please extend them. Never don't extend somebody because you feel that they might be too young. Always extend, always go back. We need to be flexible. So an extension here would be to perhaps grab some seeds and create a little garden in the outside section that you have, and give them some responsibility. Please don't give them all the responsibility, and then help them care for that garden to grow. So perhaps you get some carrot seeds, or perhaps you get some bean seeds, and you can plant them, and you can start to show, okay, we have to water it every day, make sure that it's watered, and give them some responsibility, and then they can actually see the whole fruit process grow. When you do have your vegetable, your plant, or whatever you've grown, wash it and then let them eat it, and then it's really like, wow, I grew my own carrot. So it's really a real tangible learning experience for these children in this area. So things to look for, again, and to jot down. Remember, we're always taking notes, we're always keeping progress reports on our children. Is their eating and drinking habits, their food preferences, energy levels, how well they use crockery, and how well they're adapting to meal times. So very similar to the babies. Obviously, we'll just have slightly different records to note with the different children as they're able to do more, but it's still things to really take note of. Okay, so now I think for the area that most of you have been waiting for is the actual what can I do with the kids that makes it fun and makes our days more enriching and it develops them in an appropriate way. So we've got stimulating development based on how children learn. So children learn in many different ways, and there's lots of different activities that we could do around food to stimulate their development. So we're going to go through 4 different kinds: sensory, cognitive and language, music and movement, and fine motor. There's lots of ideas here. These are just selection. Some of them were taken from the framework, and others have been my own idea. We just kind of looked on the internet and found, but very, very practical, very easy to do if you have the resources, and just things to keep in mind. So we always need to be mindful of what we have in the kitchen, and we do our best. So if you happen to come across anything that is sensory, so senses of the human as the eyes, the ears, the mouth, sound and touch. So if we can include experiences for the children to have different experiences, so not only visual, so visual we could do rainbow, we could do colors, we can do big and small similarities and differences. Smell, we can smell the different foods. You can give them an apple and an orange, and how do they smell different? It's great to incorporate the different senses. Taste, we know taste, we'll do that every day with different types of food. Tactile, feeling, hard food, soft food. So perhaps you have like nuts one day, or rice, you have uncooked rice, and then you give them soft cooked spaghetti, and they get to feel that different, be like, whoa, it feels so different. You have a big tray where they can like get involved, and they can see how it feels to get that sense in. And then the auditory sense could be rubbing an orange against a plate, or squeezing juice out of some things. We can get the auditory sense involved. So the 2 ideas presented here was taste the rainbow. If you are ever fortunate enough to have a selection of different colors, even if you don't have the entire rainbow, you can still sort them into different colors and be like, right, the red foods, the yellow foods, the orange foods, or whatever foods you have available. And you have texture stations, like I just did with the rice and the spaghetti, or you could have the mini meal, and you can have cooked mini meal. You can do it in different ways. So there's lots of different ways you can have texture stations, but texture stations are really advised for children so that they get a chance to experience food with their senses. And again, children learn through play, so it must be playful. Yes, they're going to make a mess. It's okay. Right, cognitive and language. Mealtime vocabulary maths. So if you have a minute in the day when maybe the children are sleeping, it's a great idea to take a piece of paper or cardboard, whatever you have available for you, and write words out. So label your table, label the window, label the kitchen. This is a spoon, this is a cup. So that children are starting to see and being exposed to the written word from a very, very young age. You will learn that you will find that children are actually very susceptible and very they absorb a lot of information when they are little. So to have these vocabulary mats and to point them out when you are eating, like, look, this is a cup, and you hold the cup up and the cup's got the word cup on it, and you say this is cup. Then they will start to recognize that words have meaning, and they actually label the object that they are holding. So vocabulary mats are very interesting and very important, and it is very recommended for there to be lots of words around. Even if you get those whiteboard markers and you just on the plates, or you get non-toxic ones, and you write on the plastic cup, you write cup, which you can wash off later on, but that'll give a way to start introducing language and vocabulary into the children at this young age. And then you can tell stories. Stories around meal times are super fun. You can make your own stories. You can never underestimate the power of a puppet. Even if you don't have puppets, you've got two little teddies, Teddy 1 and Teddy 2, and they are talking about this brand new food that they've got given, and the one Teddy doesn't like the food, but this Teddy does like the food. And then after this one sees this one eating, then this one is more likely to try. So puppets, games, toys, stories. Children learn through stories. Humans learn through stories. So having a story during a meal time is super great. There's also another really cool song which helps with vocabulary in a song. But I'll get to that now in the music and movement section. But yeah, please use puppets, please use teddies, please use toys, and tell stories for the children while they're eating. Again, this adds to the atmosphere of fun and enjoyable times, but it also can help them get over any issues that they have with perhaps new food or new children or not feeling well. You can almost play out a scenario with these tools that you have, with these toys that you have, and it'll help relate it to the child in a understandable and a fun way. Stories also like the Hungry Caterpillar and even Goldilocks and the Three Bears. She's eating everyone's porridge and she blows it because it's hot. It's too sweet, it's too sour. Things like that are great stories that you could read or even tell verbally. You don't need to read a story if you don't have access to the resources while they're eating, for example, their porridge. And then later on you could perhaps, everyone could be one of the three bears. So there's just lots of really fun interactive games that you can have with making stories a part of mealtime. Okay, music and movement. Kids love to move their bodies. They're very active during this stage. They have a lot of energy and they want to use their bodies. This is how they learn about their world around them and about what they're able to actually do. So they learn about their bodies, their limitations, and about the world around them. So movement is extremely important. And it factors in to our feeding, our nutrition section. So we can have movement and nourishment songs. There is another song which I've attached to the link below, which is giving vocabulary about the food that they're eating. So it's called the Lunchbox song. So please listen to it. It's really cute. And you can adapt it to whatever food that you have presented for lunch. And then the kids all kind of get along and sing it. Makes it super fun, helps them with language development, and also relaxes the environment. And then fruit salad hokey pokey. So you could say you put your tomato in and take your tomato out and you move it all about. So this would be great with like snack time. If you have apples, you could take your right hand with the apple, a red apple or green apple. So there's lots of like fun activities that you could do with the hokey pokey. What you could also do if you don't have food, you could draw different kinds of foods and attach it to the children. So you have, let's say you take an old cardboard box and you cut it into the shape of an apple, you color it red, and you attach a red apple, a green apple, the hands and feet, and then the legs can be a banana and an orange. And you put your red apple in, you take your red apple out, you move it all about, you take your green apple in and your green apple out, those kind of things. So that's called the fruit salad hokey pokey. But again, you can change it to anything. It can be a sandwich hokey pokey, it can be a tea hokey pokey, anything like that. So it just makes it really fun, an activity around food to help consolidate what we are trying to teach these children, which is to develop good nutritional and healthy eating habits, and also to create a positive area around food. And then we're going to look at fine motor. Fine motor is anything with their hands, because it's what children need to develop first is their gross motor, their larger motor. So it's very important for them to do lots of physical activities, running, jumping, climbing, etc. And then from the larger muscles, they work towards their smaller muscles. So please expect the fine motor activities to not be very neat and perfect, because they are still learning how to manipulate their fingers, because they haven't quite got a grasp on the big muscles yet fully. So activities here we could do is food stamping. So you take an apple or a potato and you dip it into some non-toxic paint if you have. There's lots of recipes online. Also for free, you just take, I think it's corn flour and food coloring. You mix it together and you get your own paint, and then you can stamp it on different things. It also washes away really nicely, so you don't have to worry about permanent kind of mess. Fine motor, another activity would be food grouping, which we did in the sensory, to group the foods into different kind of textures or to colors. Color collages, this would work really well with your toddlers. You could take magazines or newspapers, even if you don't have access, you can draw your own pictures, and you can make healthy eating pages. So you can have, this food is healthy eating, this collage is unhealthy, and you can draw different pictures or cut and stick different pictures of healthy versus non-healthy food images. Remember, collages are kind of stuck together, so it makes this beautiful picture towards the end. You could do it in the shape of a food. So when I was a teacher, I did lots of shape collages. So we'd cut out or I'd draw a line on a piece of paper, the outline, and then I'd get the children inside to try and collage with a certain color. So let's say this week you're learning red. You can find all the red food in a newspaper and try and tear it out and stick it in. So it's a great fine motor activity around food and around healthy eating for our toddlers. And the kids would really like to, you know, get a little bit dirty, cut and stick and stamp it on their page. So it's a really fun art. There's more coming up right now. So this kind of section, the activity lab, is just an extra consolidation on the one that we've just gone through. I'm not going to spend too much time here, but the pictures say 1,000 words. So that's at the bottom there, the little child playing in the different sensory trays. It's so cool. They've got a sand tray, they've got a toy tray, they've got a rice tray. The rice is just made different colors with food coloring. It's super cool. At the top we have a sensory table where they have sorted the foods into different colors, also into different foods. So that could totally be, if you have only one color of food, you can just sort it out with nachos and oranges. That's a great sorting activity. You can have cultural food days where you celebrate the fact that you've got food from your own culture. South Africa is rich and diverse in cultural diversity, excuse me. So if we celebrate a food source that we have coming in that week, then we can teach the children about it and make delicious food based on that. There's also the word food kind of done in a letter. You know, we don't have to do letters, but you could do shapes. You could draw a circle on a page and get the children to put like little grapes or beans or whatever food that they're eating, carrot sticks, in that kind of shape, to teach them another maths concept of letters or numbers or however, whichever you are exposing them to. So lots of different fun ideas. On the internet, again, there is tons of really easy to make at home Play-Doh recipes, which is edible, spaghetti and rice, paints, all that kind of stuff that can be made at home or at your facility, and then can be safe for the children to use, but also give them that extra developmental age to play with food and to really engage with different textures and different sensory opportunities. And that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. So we have completed the first section of the first ELDA of wellness, which is nourishment. We looked at the benefits of how nourishment actually helps children. We looked at red flags and responsive care. We looked at individual situations for babies and toddlers and how we can better support them. And then I gave you a whole bunch of ideas or practical tips and things that you can do around feeding in meal times to really help boost the development in this area. Please don't forget that there's a few links for songs down in the bottom of the caption. So if you do have a chance, please listen to them. They're really fun. There's millions on the internet, but these are just two that I came across and I thought they were really appropriate for what we are discussing here today. So action points for everybody. I would like you please to just make sure that you are following us on social media. These videos are posted on Blue Leaf Learning's YouTube channel. So if you want notifications, you need to please subscribe for that. And just as a group reflection, it's a really good idea for you to just have what you were going to put in this week. Was there an area that you really thought was fun? Would you like to practice or try and instill it in this week, and how you are going to improve your skills based on what we have covered in today's learning experience. So I really enjoyed doing this. I really hope it's enriched you guys, and please don't forget to like and follow and subscribe. Like I said, it's completely free for organizations that are charities, so orphanages and children's homes. If you are not an orphanage and children's home, by all means you are welcome to watch these videos and to share them with your colleagues. I would ask for you to consider to donate to my channel so I can continue to create these videos for who it is intended for. But I am really blessed to have been here with you today, and I wish you all a successful time. Look forward to the next section, and until then, take care and God bless.